might be tuning in online, or might be watching this on YouTube after the fact. So again, thank you for joining us. We appreciate that you're here. We know that people are just fact-finding at this point, and some people are like, yes, we're in. Some people are like, it might be too much, and every various degrees. So we want to make sure that we get the information out as soon as we can. We wanted to kick this off back in September to lessen the amount of the payments, but we had to wait until we had pricing from hotels and things like that. So right now we have the best information that we can kind of go forward. The two biggest questions that people always ask are, when are we going and how much does it cost? And then from there are minute details. We don't have all of the details figured out. We have a lot of them figured out. We'll kind of go through a preview of the trip here in a second. For those of you that are at home or again watching via YouTube, I'll have these sheets available for you. But first is this sheet that on the front says, "Dear parents and members of the Waterford Music Department." It has the remind number. If you know for certain you're going, you can sign up. Reminders of that. But explains just a little bit of what we are doing. We intend to go over spring break next year in the 23-24 school year, leaving on Monday, March 25th, returning on Friday, May 29th. And for those of you that have traveled with us before, the biggest change that we're doing this time around is we're going to fly out rather than taking a 20-hour bus ride on either or. We wanted to maximize our time in New York. And so it's 5 days, 4 nights in New York. Again, leaving on Monday, returning on Friday. Again, it includes a number of things which we're going to go through in just a second. We do have 5 fundraisers planned from now until December to help offset the cost. And we have had people in the past who have offset the cost. We have people who have never done a fundraiser because they can afford it. And then we've had people who have raised their entire trip through a fundraiser. And yes, even this much. There's one year that we had a freshman who then went to one trip their sophomore year and had enough left over to go their other trip for senior year. So it is possible to raise this much money in 1 year. It is so. You just have to be a little bit aggressive with who you go out and contact and things like that. But we do have 5 fundraisers planned in the next 12 months. And again, dates are March 25 to 29. The total cost per person is $23.50, and that is everything included. Now, some people are like, wow, that's a lot. Yes, we had sticker shock also. And for point of reference, last year we went to, excuse me just a second. There we go. That's right. Last year we went to Disney. It was $11.50, $11.75. I don't remember, somewhere in that per person. That same trip this year going to Disney, for other schools that are going, we have been told that their cost is somewhere about $1,500, $1,600. Same trip. That's where costs are right now, with gas, with food, with labor and everything along those lines. That's where costs are right now, unfortunately. So if we're going to go on a trip, that's where we're having to work with. And so, we went on this trip 6 years ago, and the cost of that trip was $900. That's where we are 6 years later. The pandemic has really done wonderful things for our pocketbook, and so we realize that. But the other thing that if you've traveled with us before, you know that we want to include everything that we can, so that if you've paid for the trip, you should still be able to enjoy just about everything that you can. So the cost of the $23.50 includes everything. It includes your airfare. It includes your bus transfers from Waterford to the airport, from the airport to the hotel, to certain things. It includes your meals. It includes the hotel. It includes all the sightseeing things we're going to do. It includes the Broadway shows that we're going to go see. It includes everything except for 2 lunches, 3 lunches. It includes everything except for 3 lunches and your spending cash. That's it. Everything else is included. And if you've ever been to New York, you know that Pretty amazing thing, because I remember going even that $900 price tag from 6 years ago. You spend a whole lot more if you are trying to include other things. So there's that. We do have a final trip meeting scheduled for March 6th. So we ask that you please put that on your calendar. On the back, payment schedule. And this will come up again. Basically what we were asking for is there's an online form and a commitment that you need to do by next week, Friday, February 3rd. First payment is only $100. Only $100 down. That's the first payment. We highly recommend getting trip insurance. We're working with Bob Rogers Travel. That's who we worked with going to Disney last year. Very reputable company. They take care of their clients. They offer trip insurance. You are more than welcome to seek out other travel consultants to see if you can find a better deal. But their trip insurance, they have two different levels. They have their basic level and their enhanced. The enhanced basically means that it covers everything. You cancel for any reason, you get your money back.
You don't even have to have a reason.
Yeah.
You don't even have to state the reason. You just say, I'm not going, and they refund
whatever you've put in, you get back. That's the enhanced. The basic protection does not have that. It's basically if we cancel the trip, then you will get a portion back, not the whole thing. That enhanced protection is $165. The basic package, I think, is $107. So a difference of about $60, whether you get all of your money back for any reason or just a portion of your money back. Your choice to make, but we highly recommend you get trip insurance. Again, it protects you. You get sick. Grandma Sally is not feeling well. We need to go and spend time with her as a family. Whatever the case may be, any reason whatsoever.
It can even be like the night before the trip, and you're just so full of anxiety, you just decide that you can't do it, and you have to stay back. Then you can use that trip insurance and get your money back even for that.
All right. So that is also due on the first payment. But again, only $100 down. After that, it's $190 a month until it's paid off. Now, the other thing that we have to say is that we are hoping, we've tried to plan conservatively, that $2,350 should be more than what we're going to end up paying. We're trying to get it under $2,000. The biggest thing that we can't account for yet is the airline. How much is the plane ticket going to cost? And we've been talking about this going, okay, if we're going to watch this and our travel agent watches for this, we could probably, hopefully, get that airline ticket to be somewhere about $250, $300. We have accounted for $700 for air flight in this plan. Again, similar trips that are going over spring break this year, they've ranged anywhere from $250, $300, that some of them actually have a $550 flight. So it depends on when they book, if they're watching for those deals to happen, which airline do you go through, things like that. So we're going to be watching that and trying to get the best deal that we can. There are some other costs in there that we're going to try and bring down also without sacrificing, well, that's not going to be included. Well, that's not going to be. No, it's, again, for instance, airfare is one of them. A second one, depending on if we fly out of Chicago or fly out of Milwaukee. Right now, we have the bus included that will take us to Chicago rather than to Milwaukee. That obviously costs more to go to Chicago than it does to Milwaukee. If we go out of Milwaukee, that cost will come down. So there are things like that that, again, we tried to plan conservatively, like this is how much it could be. We're hoping it's going to come in less. That's our goal, is to keep that cost down as much as we can. All right. But again, please note, all payments are non-refundable unless you have trip insurance. We don't provide trip insurance through the school. We encourage you to do that. So again, there's forms that are there. You can see that there's a hyperlink, but we'll get to that in just a second. Chaperones is the other question that we get a whole lot. And that is, can I go as a chaperone? Yes, but two other things along with this. We are basing the cost of this trip based on 80 students going. And we need chaperones, one for every 8 people, which tells you that, one for every 10 people, which tells you that if we have 80 students going, we only need 8 chaperones to go. Okay. we also know that more interest might be generated, and we're hoping that we could get up to 100 because, again, costs go down. So if we have 80 people going, $2,350. Get 100 people going, it might lessen everybody's cost by $100 because we're splitting costs on certain things. So it's kind of interesting how some of that works. And I'm trying to remember what the figure that Sarah gave us, but I think it was something like $125. There's a difference in cost going from 100 to 80, something like that. So we can save money for everybody if we can encourage more people to go. And again, at that point, if we have 100 students going, we need 10 chaperones. Generally speaking, it's kind of on a first come, first served basis. We know that there's interest, but we also have a kind of a hierarchy that we go by. If you are a parent of a junior or a senior next year, then you might get a higher dibs than a freshman or sophomore because it's your last trip. It's your last opportunity. By the same token, we are always looking for more dads to go. That might make a difference. You know, in the choir world, I have more sopranos and altos than I have tenors and basses. But in the band world, there are more guys than girls. I mean, it's just a reality. And so we need to have a balance of if we have X. Oh, yeah. It's flipped on him this year. So that's usually not the case. But we need to have a balance. So if we have 40 guys going, we need 4 dad chaperones to go. So we try and keep that in balance too. So, but we do have a hierarchy that we work with that just kind of gives you an example of what we're looking at. Okay. But again, that's kind of first come for the first serve basis. But that's that basic information. I want to kind of walk you through a little bit of what Sarah has put together for us. Let's see if this works this way. I would love it if it did. Oh, yes. I can control it without having to go off screen. This is a beautiful thing. All right. So just kind of walking through what the basic itinerary is going to look like. So on Monday, the 25th, we're going to fly out to New York City. Again, we're not sure if we're going to go out of Milwaukee or Chicago. Wherever we can find the best price, that's where we're going. And we're going to do a Radio City Music Hall tour. We're going to have dinner at Gale's Broadway Rose, which is a singing restaurant. All of the waiters and waitresses sing and act and do things while they serve the food. It's a lot of fun. We've got a tour at the top of the rock, top of the Rockefeller Center. It's considered one of the best views in the city, even better than the Empire State Building. In my opinion, it wasn't quite as good as the top of the World Trade Center, but it's pretty darn good. But that's the experiences that I've had that I could tell you. We are going to be staying at the Sheraton in Times Square, right on Times Square. We can walk to the Broadway shows. We can walk to shopping. We can get a lot of places wherever we can't. We're either taking the bus or we're taking the subway. And we've done subway before. Mr. Ludio gets on in the front end at the front of the line. I'm at the back, and everyone in between goes together. So if the line gets separated, he gets there first. I'm pulling up the rear. We make sure that we have everybody and we all travel together. So that's Monday. It's kind of a busy day, even though it doesn't look like much. On Tuesday, this is going to be our clinic day, and we're working on a couple of different options. One of the options is working with Long Island University and working with their faculty to do a clinic. One of the other things that we're working on instead of that is making some of our contacts that both Mr. Ludio and I have, as well as Sarah, our rep, and we might be doing a workshop with some Broadway people that we know. So we're trying to work that out. We don't know which direction that's going to go yet. And again, some of that means a cost savings over the other. Believe it or not, the Broadway workshop would actually cost less than going to Long Island because we wouldn't have to take buses there. We just go to the theater, things like that. Again, we're trying to reduce that cost if we can, while still having great experiences. Again, box breakfast is going to be delivered to your hotel, so breakfast is included. And this is the one day where lunch is also included, because after that, we're going to go to Central Park and spend a little time in Central Park. Box lunch will be provided for us there. It's also an opportunity. Metropolitan Museum of Art is right nearby, that if you choose to take your family and go there, you could do that. Speaking of families, because this is another question with New York, each chaperone is in charge of a group of 8 to 10 students, even when we're in the city together. So that's your family. So chaperones, we usually, again, we take parents and guardians first, We tend not to take grandparents and maybe aunt or uncle who might be along with it, because you're going to be in charge of different people. You're probably not going to be together. So if mom and grandma want to go together, you might not be together. You're each going to be in charge of separate groups that may or may not commingle. So it's just one of those things that you need to be aware of. But when we have an experience like Central Park, you're going together with your group of 8, which might get together with another group of 8 to 10. And you might combine families, but you'll have one parent who's in charge of that. That's how we stay together. That's how we make sure that everyone's safe. Then after that, we have dinner at the Dallas Barbecue, fantastic restaurant. And even for those of you that have different diets of vegetarian, pescatarian, things like that, they have options for you as well. It's not just meat and protein based. And then that night, Broadway show number 1. We don't know what shows we're going to be able to see because we don't know what's showing on Broadway in a year and a half. So we're going to wait till we get a little bit closer. Again, we're going to see 2 shows. The idea is that the first one we'll probably all go see together. Some iconic show, Lion King, Phantom of the Opera, Wicked, one of those. One of the big ones that a lot of the people usually want to go see on Broadway. The second one later on is, okay, here are these 3 shows. Pick one that you want to go to. So you have one that we all go together, and the second one that you get a choice of one of the 3. Okay, so this is the one we would go all together. On a Wednesday, first part, breakfast at Applebee's, which is right by the hotel. And that day we're going to go to a Statue of Liberty and Ellis Island in the morning. And in the afternoon, then, and then lunch is at Brookfield Place, which is right by there. It's kind of one of these very large places that has a multitude of restaurants to choose from. And again, it doesn't matter what your food choices are and your dietary needs are. There's something for everybody there. So that's Brookfield Place, and it's called Harbor Eats. Harbor Eats. And again, I'll make sure that information goes out. And then after that, we're going to go to the 9/11 Memorial and Museum, which again is right a couple of blocks away. And then after that, we'll take the subway to Chelsea Pier. And from there, we have a dinner DJ dance cruise. It was one of the best parts of the whole trip, to be honest. It's one part I love the most. So we go on, and usually with our group, the boat has 3 decks. We have 1 deck. There'll be another group that has another deck that you get your own buffet and your own DJ that caters to what you need. The other deck has, and then the top deck is an observation deck. When we start off, the sun is out, and as you go, the sun sets, and you get the entire New York City skyline at night. And they even take you around by Statue of Liberty. It's gorgeous. It's one of the best times. But make sure you bring a jacket, because water in April and March, it's not always warm. It might be during the day. I don't know. So just be aware of that. After that, we'll just hop on the subway back to the hotel. It's only about a 3-minute trip back to the hotel. Thursday, breakfast at the TikTok Diner. And no, that has nothing to do with the online platform. And on this day, Thursday, it's a day, what we call it's a free day that you, again, go and spend time with your family, your group of students, and that chaperone, and you get to go shopping on Times Square. Or if there are other experiences. And the last time we went, this was really cool. If you plan ahead and you talk to each other about, we want to see this, we want to see this, you can work it out. The groups that have troubles, they wait till they get out there. What do you want to do? I don't know. What do you want? You have no idea, because it's so overwhelming. But you could go see the Empire State Building. You could go check out Union Station, which is amazing and just completely redone recently. Last trip that we went, the dad who was in charge of the group was really proactive about it, and he found a connection that particular group was really interested in some of the behind-the-scenes things of producing television and movies, and so he got hold of someone out there that was a common contact of his, that they spent about an hour going to a TV studio and being behind the scenes in the booth, behind the cameras, finding out about all that. That was what their interest was. But that took some planning ahead of time. So again, that's your family. As long as you're traveling together, 2 groups could combine together as long as you know who's in charge of your thing. So that's that day. That day is open for you to go shopping or to go have some experiences.
Choose your own adventure.
Choose your own adventure, but choose your own adventure as a group, as your small family. We'll take our group picture that day. Usually we do that right on Times Square. And then we're going to have dinner at John's Pizzeria. And then it's Broadway show number 2. And again, that's that choice of 3 at that point in time. After the show, go back to the hotel and pack up. Boo, because it's time to come home. So again, breakfast is included. We are going to try and aim for an afternoon flight, so we at least get a little bit more morning time in the city before we have to come home. Because having a morning flight in New York is not always fun, because it means you might need to be up at 6 o'clock. And out the door, maybe even at 6 o'clock, in order to get there for an 11 o'clock flight. We're trying not to do that if we can all help it. So that's the basic gist of the trip. A couple other details. Again, some of this is in some of the notes we got. But because we are flying, anyone who is 18 years or older, you need to have a real driver's license or real state ID. Or a passport, something that identifies you through that government regulation. Anyone who's 17 or under along on the trip, all they're asking for is a student ID, because those have your picture on it, okay? And that's, again, at the time of the trip. If you are 18 at all on the trip, like you're going to turn 18 on the trip, you need the driver's license with the real ID or the passport. You need those things. 17 or under, just your school ID will work, but make sure you have that, because you're going to need that for identification purpose throughout the trip. And again, if you have questions, just hold them, because we want to make sure we get through everything, and I might answer it. I might not. So again, trip inclusions, everything that's included: motor coach transportation, including gratuity, airfare and transfers, 4 nights accommodations at the Sheraton Times Square, dedicated nighttime security at the hotel. They provide that for us as part of this trip, so everyone's safe in our hotel. All activities, admissions per the itinerary, all breakfasts and dinners, as well as 1 lunch. Group dinners that identifies those. 2 Broadway shows. Participation in our separate band and choir clinics. Again, based on availability, we're going to try and lower that by doing Broadway. It includes, we have a private tour director, so if something goes wrong, they take care of it. We don't have to worry about that. And the Bob Rogers Travel Drawstring, which some of you remember from the last trip. And they also create a video souvenir through crowdsourcing. And some of you remember that you submit your video or submit your photos and your videos, and they compile those together. So those are all included. Payment schedule. So for those of you, there's this separate sheet. And again, online people, this will be, I'll be emailing this home, and it'll be available on the YouTube site. But there's a trip code and Bob Rogers BRT payments at the top. And there's a registration link that is there. But again, $100 down for February 10th, and then $190 per month until it's paid off. And again, we're going to hope that we can get it in for less, so that maybe there's a payment or 2 less. That's kind of our goal, is to have less payments at the end. Okay. Again, participation is based on 80 to 84 people paying in, students. Chaperones, it says 12 up there, but it's 8. Chaperones are 2 per room. Students are 4 per room. Okay. So again, that's in there. Right now, it's student registration is only available on the website. Once chaperones are approved, then we'll kind of go through that process with those people.
One of the nice things about that is if you went on the Disney trip with us, all of your information is still in the Bob Rogers website. So you don't have to go in and put all that stuff in. It still remembers you. It just transfers you over to the new trip.
Yep. Just say, add this person, add this person. Very simple. I already did that for my family, so we're good there. Again, travel insurance that's not in here, but again, it tells you what's included, what's not. Basically, if the trip is canceled, if the trip is interrupted, if we have a missed connection, there are things that they provide for. If it's delayed, if there's medical expenses, an emergency while we're out there, non-medical emergencies like evacuation, we have to get out of the hotel, baggage and personal effects. If they're lost by the airline, they have that in here for the trip insurance, baggage delay. But the cancel for any reason, that's the top one. If you cancel for any reason, it's not covered under the standard plan. It is covered under the enhanced plan. And I know it says 75% of the trip cost. I thought it was 100. I will double check on that.
So too.
Yeah, I'll double check on that. But 165 for enhanced, 107 for standard. I think it's well worth your investment to make sure that you can get money back if there's something that doesn't happen. So question, how do I register? So the first thing, there's a commitment form for the school. And this is the one that says click here. But tinyurl.com 2024 WHS NYC. It's a commitment form for the school saying, hey, we know that there's a field trip happening. We know it's through the school, all that fun stuff. And again, I will send this out. Then this is the other part of this packet that you have on the second and third pages and how to register online. Again, if you went to Disney, it's the same website. It's the same trip code. You just go in and say, we're going to New York now. Disney no longer shows up. And all you have to do is add this student. And as long as nothing has changed with the student's name or age, you should be able to add it back in. If name has changed, then you'll have to just add it as a new person. Very easy to do. But complete all the appropriate fields. You are not confirmed unless you have filled all the requested fields. You do not need to pay at this time. That's February 10th. So you could go on there and register today like, we're not sure. We're going to just take the registration. It's not going to deduct any sort of a payment until February 10th, and you can cancel out until that point, even without insurance. Okay? But again, we put that in there. So we strongly recommend that trip insurance. Fundraising opportunities. We have said we've designed 5 different fundraising opportunities between now and December. The first one you have in your hands. It's got this white sheet that goes with it, which basically tells you what's going on. We want students to go out and solicit advertisements for a musical program that helps pay for the playbill for the musical, first of all. But second of all, it's a win-win because for each one that they sell, 20% of your sales go right into your student account. And so we feel it's a win. We get a great playbill for the musical for all those that are involved with that and get support for that, and students get money for their trip. The other one that's the full color, this one tells you how much things cost if you got businesses that want to do that, and the sizes that are included. All those details are there. That's the first one that we're going to be doing. This goes now until February 25th is when that one closes out. In March and April, we've done this before. We've got a raffle. We will sell a limited amount of tickets for $25 a piece. We have 3 winners. First prize is $2,500 cash. Second prize is $1,500 cash. Third place is $500 cash. No, sorry, $1,000 cash. I had to add those up. Okay, so $5,000 in prizes for 3 winners, $25 a ticket. And again, a majority of those profits, because all we got to do is pay for the stuff that's going out. The rest are profits to the kids. And that's the one out of two that we have had people who have paid for multiple trips, because it's easy to sell raffle tickets for $25 a piece. The next one that we're going to do in August is a car wash pledge drive. And if you've ever done a car wash and you just take a free will donation at the car wash, you know that maybe you'll raise about $700 for the entire car wash. But what we're going to do, we've talked to a couple of friends of ours. One of them is Sarah, the travel rep, but it's also another friend up in Appleton who started this. He said the first year we did this, he said, I just tried to okay, let's do this. You pledge an X amount per car. We're hoping to wash 150 cars. Pledge for a dime a car per person. So if we wash 150 cars, that person then gives you $15. And it's all profit. Goes right into your account. Or if you could get them to do a quarter a car, that's $37.50. You get 10 people doing that, you now have $375 towards your trip. It's a great way to do it. And you don't have to worry about delivering product. But he said the first year he did it, he was amazed, because they raised as a group $10,000. The second year they did it, $22,000. By the time the third year rolled around, they were used to it. They were at $50,000 raising for the kids. And they stopped doing domestic trips. They were traveling overseas every other year, doing Europe. I went, okay. But again, it depends on what you want to do. Do you want to be involved with that? We're going to need help in running the car wash, but go out and get pledges. Very easy to do. In October, strudels will return. Some of you remember those. It's been a great fundraiser for us for a very long time. And so we'll bring those back in October. And then November, December, we're going to do one more round of the raffle. So those are the 5 that we have planned for this trip. Now, if you are sitting there going, if you're a freshman this year or incoming freshman next year, you will have another trip in 2 years. And that's going to be back to Disney in the spring of 2026. And if you're sitting there going, New York might be a little much, you can start saving and doing these fundraisers now. Your money stays with your account throughout. Okay? So whatever you raise goes towards you. It does not go into one big pot that then lowers everybody's. You are raising for your trip. Okay? So those are our fundraisers that we've got planned. Questions? I know there might be many. Those of you that are at home, if you want to just hit that raise your hand icon, which I think is there. Let me stop presenting here so that I can see what's going on. Questions? Go ahead back there in the blue. When is the Addams Family Play? It's at the end of March.
The weekend going into spring break.
Yep. Weekend going into spring break. Charlie. Who do you have in your room? They might not be part of your family for the whole time, but there are 4 students per room. And again, we have band and choir going. You could have different roommates than the family that you spend time with. They don't necessarily have to be the same. Jen, what you got? You're online and you're going to be on the speaker, so go ahead and unmute yourself.
All right. How do we let you know if we want to volunteer as a chaperone, and when do you decide all that?
Great. So how do we let you know is, again, that commitment form that I had earlier. I'll put that out, and again, I'll email that out. The commitment form for the school has a place on there for you to let us know that you're interested in chaperoning. We probably won't let you know. We're going to try to, but it all depends on how many students sign up to go. That we'll start compiling that list. So fill out the commitment form, let us know, and then we're going to make those decisions as quickly as we can, because people want to get on top of payments. So
okay, thank you.
Yep, you bet. Belle. Everyone else does, but you. The question for those of you at home, she said, for roommates and family, do the students get to pick their own roommates and their own family? I told her everyone else but her. So everyone else gets to choose, and then we'll put you where we think you belong. No, to the serious answer to that is yes, students do get to choose unless there's a discipline issue that we get to choose, or parents always have the right to say, I don't think you two should be rooming together. And we've had that. You as parents have the right to say that for any reason, whatever the reason may be. You two probably shouldn't be in the same room. Then we'll switch you, okay? Kenzie. Great question. The question is, if you are 17 and under, can you still use your driver's license? I think so. I will double check. I don't think if you're 17 and under, you can get the real ID. I think you have to be 18. I could be wrong on that. I don't know. I'll find out.
You can still use it, though.
You can still use it, yeah, just like a school ID. Okay. I'm sorry, back there? Yes. Yes, we will find out what all of those things are ahead of time, and we will do our best to accommodate those things. If there's a situation where we think we can't, then we will work something out. One of us will go shopping. We'll figure it out. Okay. Miranda Smith, your hand is open. Go for it.
So for the student accounts, for the fundraisers,
yes.
When they get to be a senior for the overage, what happens if there's more in there than what the price of the trips are?
Right. So it depends on how much is over, but usually what we like to do is if it's over the trip, we will refund that as spending cash. Same thing for New York trip. If you're going in the New York trip and the cost is $2,350, let's say you've raised $2,500, then you'll be getting $150 back as spending cash to go on the trip. Same thing with those that if you're not going to New York and you end up Disney, same thing happens there. If you don't go on any of the trips, it comes back to the school. Fundraisers belong to the school. We can't refund fundraisers to people who decide not to go on trips. But to that end, I also want to make sure I say that fundraisers don't necessarily have to go towards trips. Band people, it could go towards marching band camp. It could go towards reeds or mutes or whatever you need to get through Mr. Ludio. For choir people, the Madrigal Retreat. For singers and jesters, it could go towards that. We've even had people that use it towards private lessons because it benefits us to if the money that you have raised for fundraisers are yours to use within the music department. But once the last in your family has graduated, it comes back into the school. But if you have younger siblings coming through, we hang on to that. So if you have a junior, senior coming through right now, and your next one is in 4th grade, it will be there in 8 years when they get here. Or 5 years.
Sorry, we're not going to give you interest on it, though.
No, there's no interest, but it will be there. All right. Okay. Miranda, did that answer things okay?
Yes. And also, if it's overage, can a chaperone use that?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Chaperones can use overage too. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Yes.
As far as fundraising goes versus the payment schedule,
yes.
How does that
so the question is, payments versus fundraising. So, for instance, this first fundraiser we're going to be doing throughout the month of February. So once that is concluded on February 25th, whatever you have would be applied to the next payment. Okay, so completed February 25th, it would go towards the March 10th payment. Okay, and then when we do the raffle in April, it would, whenever we conclude it, it'll apply to the next one after it as quickly as we can. Okay, great. Yes.
So you're saying each chaperone has 8 kids in the family. Now, if there happens to be some disciplinary issue with a kid or two in that group, from that issue over to you guys,
it
depends on the severity.
Yeah, I mean, if it's something that is minor and you think you can correct it, but usually if it's to that level that you're questioning, should I be doing, you should be calling one of us.
So like if you're, at Central Park and you say, okay, everybody be back here at this time.
Yep.
2 kids are just like, screw that, I'm not. Is that?
Oh yeah, that's with us, and they'll probably be on a plane ride home.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
We've done that before.
And yep.
Oh, I know. We've done that before. I mean, it's the last resort, but yeah, the loneliest plane ride is the one that you have to come home on with Mr. Foster. Just saying.
And that has happened.
I have one more question.
Yeah.
For the Broadway show too, you said that's a choice of, is that the whole family chooses?
No.
It'll be these 10 students want to go to this one, these 40 want to go to this one, these, and it'll get split up like that.
Thank
so
you.
it doesn't, the same people that you've been hanging out with, you don't necessarily have to go to the same musical.
Yeah. You don't have to go to the same musical as your family, and we'll make sure that coverage is there.
And whatever those choices are, it'll be what's available. What can we get tickets to?
Mm-hmm. Sorry. Yes. What is New York's status on vaccination? Pretty much the same as it is everywhere else right now, which is there are no COVID restrictions. If you want to wear a mask, you can wear a mask. We're not checking vaccination status. That's not our job to be doing any of that at this point in time. If that changes, then we'll deal with that at that point in time. Jonah.
Yes.
I'm sorry. I didn't hear.
He's asking if you can do all the different fundraisers.
Oh, yeah.
And absolutely. You can participate in every single one of them.
Or you can participate in none of them. I mean, the fundraiser, we don't require you to participate in a fundraiser. I've said this many times before, and I will keep saying it until the day that it doesn't happen anymore. We are very well supported by our school. We don't need to fundraise for basic supplies. We don't need to fundraise for basic things that around the department. That's very different than other districts that both of us has been in. But here, fundraisers are for you to do supplemental things. So if you don't want to do the fundraisers, you don't have to. They're for you guys and for your trip. But if you want to do all 5 of them, by all means, go for it. Because I know that you have to. You know, each family is different. Each family is different, you know? Yes.
80 students.
Yes.
What percentage of that is the entire music?
Next year, hang on a second. Next year.
It's hard to tell with the.
Next year, we're supposed to have about 140 in the entire music department. So it's about 50%. And that the past 2 trips have been about 50%. But before that, it was usually somewhere about 80 to 85% of the department was going. So again, cost, price point, I don't know. So we're putting out the information now. If we waited until September, payments would be $350 a month, and we know that would price a lot of people out. $200, $190 is a little more palatable for more people. Maybe not for everybody. So great. Other questions? Oh, sorry. Here, and then someone was over here. Yes. Is there a minimum number of students to sign up in order to make the trip happen? Honestly, we haven't talked about that.
We haven't talked
I mean, honestly, it would be a point of if the trip is going to cost more, we'll probably not. You know, we don't want to go higher than this. I mean, some of you know this, even in looking at where do we want to go next year. We looked at different venues. We looked at New Orleans. We looked at Seattle. We looked at San Francisco. We looked at Hawaii. I mean, Hawaii was like, great. $3,000. Okay, we're close. Land only. Does not include airfare. Ooh. Yeah. You know, so we looked at those places. But, yeah, if it's much more than this, we might not. We might not. Okay? If we're less than the 80, it depends on how close it is and how much it would be adjusted. Because, again, we know we've got a little bit of play in there. Like, okay, there's a buffer with airfare if we could get it at that. So, it depends. We haven't talked about that, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah.
So, yes, and there was someone over here. I'm so sorry. Who was it first? Kenzie?
Yeah.
Baggage will be just like usually travel. For those of you that have traveled before, you get 1 check-in and 1 carry-on. Instruments are separate from that. So those of you that are in band, your instrument would be separate. We've included that as part of the cost.
Yeah,
it counts as an extra piece of luggage.
We've budgeted in extra money for extra baggage for instruments, so you don't have to worry about extra baggage charges as far as instruments go. But then on top of that, if you play like a flute or a clarinet or a trumpet, you can easily carry that on. I have flown with both my trumpets, multiple trumpets at the same time, and a guitar, and I've always been able to get them on no problem. And I even have a fun little letter that Congress wrote up back in the 90s saying that airlines should allow you to carry instruments on in the cabin in an airplane. So I've had to show that one time, and they went, oh, okay. But yeah, it's...
I have professional musician friends of mine that they buy a ticket for their instrument.
Oh yeah, like professional like cello players.
Oh yeah,
they buy a separate seat and they put their cello in.
Because it's not going through baggage.
Oh wait, because that'll. Yeah, that's just waiting for a disaster.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, yes.
Really, what was the head count for Disney?
It's 84. 84 students went to Disney. Okay, back there. Yeah, I'll put it back up there when we're done. Yeah, absolutely. I'll put it back up there when we're done. Yes.
Just a quick question in regards to the raffle tickets. You said they're $5 apiece.
Yes.
How much is that?
It starts at $10, and once we hit a certain threshold, then everyone gets $15. We have to cover the cost of it first. And again, we're going to sell, I think 2,000 tickets maximum. And that one, the last go around, I had someone who $750 in profit. They paid for almost 2/3 of their Disney trip in one go. So, Jonah, and then Kelly. Let's worry about those details when we do the raffle ticket sale. I know you want the answer now, but he was asking details on. So when we sell the raffle tickets, let's worry about that when we get there. That doesn't need to happen in this meeting. All right, Kelly. Nope. Two completely different sales. Two completely different sales. One sale in the spring, choose 3 winners, reset and start over. Just like the lottery. I still didn't win that 1.2 billion. Whatever. They misspelled Maine. It's supposed to say Wisconsin. It didn't work. So, Hannah.
If you're in band and choir, would you have to choose what clinic to go to?
No. The question is, if you're in band and choir, would you have to choose which clinic? The answer is no. We're going to design those so that you can do both. Yep. We don't want you to have to miss anything. Okay? Yes?
What do chaperones do during?
You're with the students watching the clinics happen. Yep. You're with the group all the time. Yeah. Yeah. Chaperones don't get off time, so sorry. I mean, well, you get to sleep. Yeah. Sleeping is your off time. But, yeah, it's not a vacation. It's a service. We recognize that. So,
Sam.
No, you're not with families during the clinic. Question is, if your family is half band, half choir, what do they do during the clinic? You're not in families at the clinic. You're with band or choir. And when you're not in the clinic, you're watching the other people do the clinic. It's only 45 minutes. It's okay. You'll survive. I promise. I promise you'll survive. Oh, you mean we have to watch the choir sing? Oh, man. We have to watch band. Come on, really? It's fine. We'll be okay. We got to support each other. I love watching the band personally. I love that. Kenzie. Yep. Yep. Other questions? All right, so I'm going to put back up on the screen that tiny URL thing. Again, if you have questions that I didn't cover or you wanted to ask and didn't have a chance to, there we go. And I'll go back to that. There's the tiny URL. I try and make it memorable. 2024 WHS NYC. Yeah, or you can take a picture of it. That works just as well too. Yeah, either of those. But I love tiny URLs. Some of my students know that already. It's so easy to create shortcuts. So again, thank you. We know that you might have more questions. We know that not everything might get answered in this meeting. It's just, here's what we know. Here's what we know it's going to cost. This is when we're going to go. And a lot of the other details need to be sorted out, but we also want to roll this out as soon as we can so that it's affordable for the most amount of people. One more question.
For the incoming freshmen,
Yes.
when you email stuff out, do we have to go through our music teacher?
Great question. When we email stuff out for the incoming freshmen, I would really appreciate it. Well, if you fill out the commitment form, then we'll have your email address. But we're going to really try and make sure, because we know that even there are some incoming freshmen who aren't in band or choir. So we're going to try and make sure that communications happen through the school. But, man, if you don't fill out the commitment form, please just shoot me or Mr. Ludio an email and say, hey, we're planning on going on the trip. We'll make sure that you're kept in the loop on fundraisers and stuff like that. Yeah, I appreciate that too. So, all right. Other than that, if you have questions, please feel free to come up and ask. Shoot me or Mr. Ludio an email. We'll do our best to answer those questions, understanding that at this point we're a year out. Some of the questions might be, I don't know, we're working on that. All right? Thank you. Have a good night. And you at home, thank you so much for tuning in. Y'all have a good night too. I'm going to stop the recording. So if you have other questions,
We can ask.